Papers. Here's our press review. Oliver Farry joins me now in the studio for our international press review. A look through the newspapers this morning. In the international press, of course, this story about US spying continues to be a massive story, doesn't it?
Yes, it is, and particularly in Germany. The Independent reports from Berlin that the diplomatic rift between Germany and the US threatens to deepen after it became known that President Barack Obama knew German Chancellor Angela Merkel's phone was being tapped, but did nothing to stop it. But then the National Security Agency issued a statement late on Sunday saying the president did not know, contradicting reports in Bild am Sonntag on Sunday that NSA Chief General Keith Alexander had briefed him on the matter in 2010. It also added that the spying ended when the White House found out about it earlier this year. And several German politicians have called on Berlin to abandon negotiations over future EU-US free trade agreements until the matter is resolved.
Yeah, really making a lot of waves in Germany, and revelations coming out there in the press thick and fast there. And what else have you got for us, Oliver?
We have a piece in The Atlantic by David Rhoda, who says that the United States is losing its way in the struggle against terrorism, and that this security state and the drone strikes are actually counterproductive. He says the drone strikes in Pakistan and Yemen only foster greater animosity towards the US, and Washington is doing very little to track the civilian deaths. The US is becoming a security state with greater surveillance, he says, now that passengers are being pre-screened using algorithms on domestic flights. And Rhoda says that there is one reason for optimism, a bipartisan Senate proposal to rein in surveillance. He says President Obama should back it and embrace transparency.
A rare example of cooperation in Congress. I guess he should seize on that as well. And you've got more on drones, haven't you, from the New York Times?
In the International New York Times, they have a cartoon grimly sardonic showing Obama with Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. As a money bag is dropped from a drone, Obama says, "I hope this will allay your concerns about the drones." And it seems to sum up Washington's way of dealing with the problem.
Quite a cynical cartoon, but I guess getting to the point. Now, fascinating story you've got for us next. The possibility that talks might be reopened between the US and North Korea.
That's correct. Stephen W. Bosworth and Robert L. Gallucci, who were responsible for talks with North Korea during the Clinton and first Obama administrations, say that they spoke to North Korea last month, North Korean representatives, that say the time is right because there hasn't been any official contact for over a year. And it says that the impasse is only allowing Pyongyang to buy time to develop nuclear weapons. And North Korea is willing to sit down without preconditions. And Gallucci and Bosworth say that Washington is right to be wary, but it should not expect China to solve the problem for it either, because China doesn't want Korea to get nuclear weapons, but it certainly doesn't want its neighbour to collapse under sanctions. And there are also a number of motivations, one of which is the release of US citizen Kenneth Bae, who's held in North Korea, and also ultimately getting Pyongyang to denuclearise its arms.
OK, so lots at stake there. Now, you mentioned that China. We've got a different story from China. New York Times, they're reporting rampant art frauds in China.
Yes, it's quite a thorough story. It's a cover story. It covers it in great depth, saying the fraud has got so bad that many buyers are refusing to pay up because of doubts about authenticity. It points to the 20th century Chinese painter Qi Baishi, whose work on the market appears to far outnumber the actual output he did. And now, in his 1946 ink drawing, Eagle Standing on a Pine Tree sold for a record $64.5 billion in 2011, but has been sitting in a warehouse since because the winning bidder refuses to pay because they really don't know if it's true. And the main reason for the flood of forgeries is that the Chinese art market is mainly antiquities. That's what they prefer, and it's much easier to forge, especially by mass production. And the challenge right now, says Wang Yanan, who's the president and director of China's second biggest auction house, is, in the mind of every Chinese, the first question is whether it's fake.
OK, really interesting look at a sector of the market, which I guess we don't hear much about. Thanks very much. Bring that to our attention. That's Oliver Farry there with our international press review here on Live from Paris. All right, don't go away. We're having a very short break, but we'll be back at 1:30 with the latest international news.